You know what time it is. It is not the holiday season. It is bold predictions season. It's Tim May, the 41-year vet. Oh my gosh, a wild Mick Walker has appeared. Let's get into it, fellas. We've
A
got,
popular demand, by the way.
so Mick, you're new around here. We do a bold prediction each, an offensive player of the game, a defensive player of the game, and then you got to give your score pick, and you got to put a face and a name to that score pick. It can't just be on the website anymore. So now that you're initiated, how about we dive into it? Tim, I'm going to give you the honors on the tee box. First of all, because you're the longest drive off the tee. And second of all, because I don't know what mixed handicap is, and I know yours is lower than mine. So I'm going to
Mine,
give you,
mine, mine is coming up with thoughts, but go ahead now.
well, I will, oh man, I will give you the honors on the tee box, and I'll let you get this thing started. What's your bold prediction for Ohio State, Indiana in a top 5 showdown in the horseshoe?
I can't go back to the well, man. I can't go back to the well. I keep going back to the well and coming up dry. Uh, my bold prediction is that Ohio State will win this game by more than one score. We'll get into the score later. But Ohio State will win this game despite its challenges that keep popping up every 3 or 4 weeks on the offensive line. Ohio State will find a way and win this game by more than one score.
Mick, I wonder if you're going to be any more bold since this is your debut. Is it a recruiting prediction? Are we boldly predicting commits? Are we boldly predicting what's going to happen in the game? What do you got for us, young guy?
No, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder. I picked this up when we were at the Woody on Wednesday, and I figured I would go with it today after thinking about what I wanted to say. I'm going to go blocked punt for a third straight game.
Wow.
To paraphrase the legendary manager Lou Brown from Major League, 1, that's a win. 2, that's 2 in a row. And 3, that's a streak. So we'll go with the blocked punt streak for 3 straight games.
Wow.
That's my bold prediction.
You know how crazy that one was last week, though. It was a high snap, went over the guy's head, and he tried to punt it anyway.
Yeah. I think there's been a push to be more aggressive on the punt block, and I think that's become more of a punt block team than a punt return team. I think we'll see that this week and potentially more weeks throughout the season, considering how many weeks of football are left for Ohio State.
Yeah, whenever something becomes the pet peeve of the head coach, it usually somehow or another gets fixed.
Tim, he seems like a veteron on this thing.
He does.
He's got a bold prediction for everything. All right.
Especially with that beard.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. So against Oregon, this young man had 12 touches. He had 10 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. In the 4 games since then, he's had 9 catches for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. In the biggest games, they tend to get him the ball. They tend to feature him in the offense, and they tend to highlight him in the offense. Of course, I'm talking about senior captain, senior wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka. I think Emeka Egbuka is going to have 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns in this game. There is no reason for him not to be more involved in this game plan. Indiana defends the run well. Ohio State has got to get the ball out quickly in the passing game because we don't know what this offensive line truly has in store. I think everybody knows that. What's the best way to get the ball to your weapons? It's in the slot. Will Howard to Emeka Egbuka needs to be better, and I think it will be better on Saturday. I'm going with Emeka Egbuka, 100 yards receiving and 2 scores in this game. He has to be good if Ohio State's going to be good.
In other words, you're going not with the e-ticket, but the double e-ticket.
Correct.
Okay. I like it.
Offensive player of the game, Tim. I need it. Let's hear it.
It's going to be a co-prize. It's going to be Carson Hinsman moving back home to center and Austin Cervell playing left guard, because if Ohio State holds sway in this game, these guys will be a major reason why. I could reach out, the double E ticket's already been pulled. I could reach out different places, but they've got to hold sway in the interior of the offensive line to keep moving on, keep on keeping on. Every other cliche you can throw in there. So a final answer: Carson Hinsman and Austin Cerveld.
Mick?
I'm gonna I'll go more chalk with this pick. I'll go Jeremiah Smith for my offensive player of the game. I think Jeremiah Smith's gonna be excited to look across the field and see his former high school teammate D'Angelo Pons, all 5'9" of them, across the field. I think I expect a big game from Jeremiah Smith on Saturday against his former high school teammate who is giving up about 5 inches and at a cornerback position where it's more reactionary. I think that favors Jeremiah Smith, who will obviously know the plays, know where he wants to be, and also just be an alien talent.
Dunk fest is what you're calling for, a dunk fest.
I like it. Yeah, I just picked Emeka Ibuka to have 100 yards receiving, but I think the story of this game is going to be over my right shoulder? Nope.
Yeah, that shoulder. Your other right shoulder.
I bought this hat from Seth McLaughlin's charity. It says, "Run the damn ball." Run the damn ball. I think Ohio State is going to run the football. Indiana is the #1 run defense in the country, 72.2 yards per game allowed on the ground.
Yep.
This reminds me so much of the 2019 game against Penn State when Penn State had the #1 run defense in the country. We didn't know if Ohio State and its lethal rushing attack was going to be able to run the ball. Ohio State started with the ball, I believe, on the 8-yard line, went on a 92-yard touchdown march to open that game, and I think 85 of it was J.K. Dobbins running the football. They established it. They told Penn State that you are not going to dictate terms in this game. We are, and I think Ohio State is going to assert itself. Tell Indiana from the jump, we are not letting you dictate terms in this game. I think they're going to try to run the football. I don't care who's playing offensive line. I think they will succeed at running the football. And if there's one thing, I don't mean to go on a tangent here, but if there's one thing that I noticed from that Indiana-Michigan game, in the second half of that game, Indiana looked beat down. Michigan's offense, as bad as it is, was even starting to wear down on Indiana's front because Indiana's front is good, but it's not deep. And as the game goes on, I think you will start to see Ohio State pick up momentum. All of that is to say my offensive player of the game is Tegra Shabola. With the uncertainty along the left side of the offensive line, Ohio State not truly knowing what it's got until it gets into a game situation, I think they're going to test that right side a little bit. And I think if Tegra can pave lanes, they're going to have a lot of success. And as the second half goes on, again, you're wearing people down. I think Tegra is a big body who in the run game can wear you down. And I think that's what he's going to do. I'm going to go with Tegra. I know that is an off-the-wall pick for a top 5 matchup, but man, like there's a huge opportunity for him, especially in this game, to wear Indiana down and allow Ohio State to run the ball better.
Wait a minute. Is that more off the wall than me picking 2 offensive linemen as the offensive player of the game? I mean,
well, no, because they're the story of the game, right? Like they're the guys that, like, if they're bad, then Ohio State is probably out of the national championship picture. Even if they win this game, it's like, well, I don't think they can win a title. If they're good, though, Tim, like you said, like the confidence renews that they can go and win a national championship with this offensive line. So I like your pick. And, you know, I just –
us together, we picked the interior of the Ohio State offensive line because we all know that's key to this one, just like you just pointed out. You know, Penn State game. Penn State game. What turned that game? I mean, what saved that game? Well, not saved it, but what clinched that game was then coming out from the 1-yard line and running the ball. I mean, with a revamped offensive line. This is, as the old saying goes, this is deja vu all over again.
No concerns about the tackles, just as everybody predicted after losing your NFL left tackle. No concerns about them at all.
Absolutely. You're absolutely
Donovan Jackson's played pretty well, in my opinion. But, you know, finally, Mick, you gotta hone it down. You know, I honed it down to 2, and Spencer honed it down to 1. Meanwhile, you got the glitz and glamour dude who we all know they can go to that route. They can go to that direction, meaning Jeremiah Smith, anytime they want in this game. That's my we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, I always used to say that they should push the Marv button more often last year. And this year they seem pretty content with pushing the Jeremiah button when they need to. Tim, who's your defensive player of the game? We haven't talked a lick about defense yet, and I'm disappointed.
I'm going to go. I don't know if I picked this. I know I've picked this guy at least once this year, but I'm going to go with Jordan Hancock. Man, he's on my mind all the time right now. I'm writing a story for Friday for us just on the way. Jim Knowles is ringing out the depth chart on this defense. and the way he's mixing and matching things. And all of a sudden, you look up, Jordan Hancock's up on the line. Next thing you know, he's the high safety right on down the line. It's important against Rourke for this secondary to be on point. And if it's not on point, it's important to have a cleaner, And Jordan Hancock could play the role of the cleaner, but so could Lathan Ransom, and so could Caleb Downs. I mean, we all know that shooting fish in a barrel, or fishing for fish in a barrel, whatever you do to fish in a barrel, you could pick Caleb Downs every week, but that's no fun. So I'm going with Jordan Hancock, Defensive Player of the Week, for Ohio State. Final answer.
Mick, who's your Defensive Player of the game?
I'll stick in the secondary and go Davis Adigmanos. He was, I believe, the last guy off the field on Wednesday night when you guys were recording your show. Went up and down the field a couple of times, catching back shoulder fade balls to practice it. And I think this is a game where you're going to be able to see him kind of do what he does best. He struggles a little bit, as we've seen, with grabbing and whatnot on break points and the end breaking routes or out breaking routes where wide receivers can break him down. I think if you're talking about a guy like Elijah Surratt or some of these wide receivers that want to go deep, that want to play hand-to-hand combat and try and catch the ball over the shoulder, playing the ball is an area where Davison excels. So that'll be my pick for a defensive MVP.
Yeah, and we all know Indiana almost lives off the back shoulder throws too. I mean, this is going to be a technical exercise for Ohio State's corners and even its safeties, really. I mean, it's going to be that away.
Look, listen, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I don't know. I'm willing to be fooled yet again. I don't care. I'm owning it. I'm putting it on camera. And this is the most famous last words of a fool pick that I've ever made. My Defensive Player of the game is CJ Hicks. They used him off the edge last week. Then Jim Knowles said on Tuesday, that's his future is at the edge. And then on Wednesday night at the Woody, we're in there. And who are 2 of the last people off the field? Donovan Jackson and CJ Hicks. He's working against the tackle. He's not working on rush lanes through the A and B gap. He was working on pass rush moves against the tackle. The last time I saw a linebacker work on pass rush moves in practice against the tackle before a game was Baron Browning against Penn State. And I think he was part of 3 sacks on either Sean Clifford or Will Levis once Sean Clifford got knocked out of that game. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but I'm predicting that's what's going to happen. I think CJ Hicks is finally going to be used on the edge, and I think it's going to yield tremendous results, not only because I think he might be able to get home once or twice, but because once he does get home, the offensive line has to shift, and it takes a lot of the burden off of these other pass rushers, and they'll be able to get home as well. I think it could change the way that they rush the passer.
So what we thought he was going to be used as, not this past spring, but the previous spring after watching him, they're finally going to get into making that his major. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, look, we've been talking about this.
In a real game.
We've been talking about this legitimately, Tim, for years. You know that. You and I both.
Yeah.
Once we realized at probably the end of his freshman year that, hey, this guy is much more Abdul Carter, Micah Parsons than he is LeVar Arrington.
Yeah.
Like,
where's 11? I mean,
put him on the edge. And I think he's even said that before, put him on the edge. So, I just think that this is a great opportunity for them to utilize his skill set. And with Mitchell Melton's status up in the air still, Ryan Day said he was going to practice, but we just don't know if he's going to play. I think this is a golden opportunity for Jim Knowles to unveil yet another wrinkle in this defense and unleash yet another weapon in this defense, or activate him, as you like to say, Tim.
Yeah.
But, again, I'm willing to be fooled. I'll take the bait. I'm willing to be fooled. Tim.
Actually, it's Jim Knowles that likes to say activated. I'm just repeating what he says. Go ahead.
I think he said it once with Caleb Downs.
I know.
Run with it.
It stuck with you because Lathan Ransom has been activated. Jordan Hancock has been activated. Mick Walker has been activated.
You're absolutely right. Tim.
Activate, keyword this week. Austin Searveld has been activated.
Tim, quit activating people and give me your final score prediction.
I've got Ohio State somewhere in the neighborhood of 34. I'm thinking here. 34-15, some kind of weird score, but like I said, more more than one score they're going to win by. So 34-15. What really sticks out to me, and you guys may or may not agree. I mean, I've watched that Indiana-Michigan game in some form or variety 3 times, and Indiana had tough sledding against Michigan, especially in the second half. Figured out a way to win the game, figured out a way to get that clinching. Well, I don't know if clinching field goals, it was 20-15, but they figured out a way to win the game. This is a better defense than Michigan's defense. Ohio State's is. That's almost not really the forgotten factor. When you lose your starting center for the year, that is the story of the week. But Ohio State's defense, the way it's played the last several weeks, I think it holds sway in this one. And I'm still giving Indiana a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, scoring 15 points, which might be a touchdown and a touchdown and 3 field goals, going for 2 maybe after the touchdown or something. I don't know. But bottom line is some kind of weird score, 34-15. Final answer.
Mick?
I'll go 31-10. I think there's going to be, talking to somebody at the Woody, I think there's a concerted effort to get Jaden Fielding some long-range field goals. So I'll go 4 touchdowns and then a 51-yarder bonus bowl prediction, 51-yard field goal from Jaden Fielding to kind of get tested out and make sure that they have full belief in game on his range, because I know they believe it in practice, but to see it in game is going to be something different. So 31-10 Ohio State.
Are you saying 51 exact or 51 or more?
I'll go 51 exact.
Okay. Wow.
He
He's thinking like Ryan Day right there. I know what he's thinking.
He comes on the show, Tim, and becomes the boldest guy in town.
Yeah. He put the money on the line right there.
Yeah. How much money do you have on it, Mick? Don't tell me, because we'll get in trouble for legal reasons.
Yeah, I'm not on trial here.
Yeah, I don't gamble, so I just make euphemisms.
All right, I'm going to get us out of here on this. I think Ohio State's going to win this game 31-17. I don't think that it is going to be as competitive as 31-17. The final score will indicate. I think Indiana is a really good team. I think it's an even better story, and I think the slipper stops fitting, if you will, here. This is a really good Indiana team. I just think that Ohio State can find another gear. They haven't played a complete game, like Tim keeps saying. I still don't know if this will be a complete game. I think this will be a really good game in the first half. But when you add in, and I know that this is counterintuitive when you go through thought processes, but when you add in a now extra motivated team to play for one of its absolute leaders in the locker room, on top of it being a top 5 matchup at home, Ohio State has made every push to make this the loudest place in America on Saturday. I think Ohio State fans will respond well. Indiana hasn't played in an environment like this. The toughest place they've played this year was at Michigan State, and that's a downtrodden Michigan State program whose fans, even when they're the loudest, that stadium doesn't get there. I think Indiana will show a little bit of that struggle, a little bit of that nervousness in this game, and I think Ohio State will get up big early and, like I said, at the end of the game, run the ball and get out of there with a 31-17 win. I think it'll be a good time for everybody. I don't think that Ohio State's offense is going to go nuts. I think the defense will hold Indiana down. And they'll get out of there with a 2-score win and then head on to the game against Michigan next week on Thanksgiving week. Fellas, we're going to do this all again next week. Bold predictions. We'll probably do it a little bit earlier in the week, considering the festivities, the turkey that we're going to eat, and we might have to wake up from a nap to do it, or we might have to get Tim is a hibernation afterward. But we're going to do it all again next week.
Let me ask you one quickie. Does this game kind of feel like a little bit when Michigan State rolled in here? What was it, undefeated with Kenneth Walker III and stuff? And I'm not saying Ohio State's going to put a knot on their head like that happened that day, but this game is – the last several weeks has felt to me like that from a matchup standpoint. Do y'all agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you can put numerical values on coaches, but I think this Indiana coaching staff would be much better than the Michigan State coaching staff.
Yeah. You're talking about top to bottom. Absolutely. Yeah.
But
Cignetti's the real deal.
The week before, the coach signs a long contract. All the parallels are there. Very good team, not quite ready for prime time yet. We'll see if that is the case. Saturday in the Horseshoe at noon. Ohio State and Indiana on Fox. Of course, it's big noon kickoff because it's an Ohio State game. Where else would they put the darn thing? That's Mick Walker on the other side of the screen. That's Tim May in the middle. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. These guys are the real stars of the show. We're going to be in the Horseshoe on Saturday for Ohio State, Indiana, and then we're going to cover Ohio State 365 days a year like we do all the time. Go to lettermenrow.com right now. Get $1 for your first 7 days, then 50% off for an entire year. Get you through next year's Michigan game, which is a pretty damn good deal. And then like the video below, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you know when we go live, when we have videos, and when we talk about the Bucks. See you guys in the Horseshoe on Saturday. For Mick and Tim, this is just Spencer, and this is just Lettermen Row.